Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a little bit of breaking news today, national news in fact, and then I think it actually might do well to bring it back to California. Essentially, if you haven't read or heard about it in the news yet, we did have a mass shooting happen last night in Indiana. It was in a mall. Obviously, you know, our hearts and prayers, they do go out to the families of the victims. As has happened in the past, and surely as we continue on this path, we will always have those people in our hearts and mind. I did want to, however, draw some attention to the way that the media has been covering this. And if you don't watch a whole lot of mainstream media, you might not understand it a whole lot. However, you know, as I've said in the past, when you have an ideology that is rooted in something like Marxism, a lot of this gun control comes from those roots. It really becomes about propping up that ideology. That's why we see some of the laws that we see. It is about the ideology. It is not about helping people. And I think this is actually a really good example. Jacob, can you pull up this article here? This article is from Newsweek in Indiana, and right off the take here, you can see the title. It's Good Samaritan Who Killed Mall Shooter Broke Property Rules Against Guns. So this is a little bit disheartening in a time where countless lives were saved. Essentially, in this shooting, you had a Good Samaritan, as he's being dubbed by the police department over there in Indiana, step up. This is a 22-year-old who had a concealed carry permit, step up and take matters into his own hands in subduing the shooter while he was in the act. 3 people were shot and killed. 3 more were injured. I think the question is, though, how many more would have been killed or injured? That has to be the golden question here. And this is what you get when you prop up that ideology over simple facts. This is a fact that a firearm owner, a lawful firearm owner, saved lives yesterday. And he saved lives because he was able to carry a firearm in public. But just for giggles, let's go ahead and read some of this. So the Good Samaritan who was shot and killed, or who shot and killed the gunman who opened fire in the Greenwood Park Mall in Indiana on Sunday afternoon, reportedly broke the property's policy against weapons. The suspected shooter entered the mall on Sunday carrying a rifle, multiple magazines, and opened fire in the food court, killing at least 3 and injuring 3 before he was shot to death. So in a food court, obviously, 6 p.m., there's going to be more than 3 people in there. The proof is in the pudding here. Lives were saved because this person intervened. And let's make no mistake about it. This is a 22-year-old. That is a courageous 22-year-old. I'm sure that there was a lot of training involved here. The fight or flight instinct kicked in. He could have very well walked away. He could have run away. He could have hid. Instead, he decided that yesterday he was going to save lives, and he did so. But that's not what the media is focusing on, is it? They're focusing on the fact that the owners of the mall had a policy in place that didn't allow firearms. So then let's ask the question, did that policy work? How many lives were saved yesterday during this shooting in Indiana? How many lives were saved by the gun laws? I would argue not many. They were saved by a person willing to take action. And I think that should be pointed out. So let's read a little bit further. Indiana State Representative Mitch Gore. Okay, so now we're going to bring the politician into it. Mitch Gore tweeted on Sunday following the Greenwood Park Mall shooting, "It's too soon to assess what could have been done to prevent this specific incident, but what should be abundantly clear is that as a society and as a government, we are utterly failing at addressing gun violence. Clearly, new approaches are urgently needed." Are they? Are new approaches urgently needed? Let's go ahead and pull up some FBI statistics just to take a look. If you can actually look at the trend on this graph, is it going upward or is it going downward? I mean, this graph is from 2000 till present. Is it going upward or going downward? So new ideas from 2000, 2001, 2002, all the way up. Are the new ideas working? Or are the older ways working? We need to take these things into account. Our politicians are going to continue and try to control firearms in this state or this nation, but there's no actual evidence that their new ideas are working. What has worked always is freedom. That's made America the greatest country in the world. It's why we have the power globally that we have. And as citizens, we need to be able to protect ourselves like this gentleman in the mall did. But you can see, and I think that we need to start holding our politicians' feet to the fire. The new ideas aren't really working. The older ways always did. And if this graph goes back even further, it goes down even lower. So how can this apply to California, I guess, ends up being the question. These are national things. Obviously this didn't happen in California. It happened in Indiana. But what are things that we in California, what are things that the California Rifle and Pistol Association are doing about it? And on that, I want to bring in our Northern California programs rep. His name is Jess Harris. Jess, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
So, as we're seeing some of this national news, and obviously some of these things have happened in the past in California as well, what are some of the things that you've been working on up in the Great White North to try and prevent these things?
Well, we've recently come up with a school safety proposal that meets state and federal law that allow teachers to have firearms at the school in a very safe and effective manner. We recently had Scott Valley Unified School District pass this into policy with a 5-0 vote, along with the help of their administrative staff and their superintendent. They're really standing up for their kids here and actually moving forward to keep their school staff and their students safe.
So, yeah, I guess if you want to talk about compassion and the ability for somebody to defend themselves in a life-threatening situation, you now have a school district in California that is implementing, if I'm hearing this right, a policy to allow teachers, if they choose, obviously this isn't going to be a requirement, right? If they choose to conceal carry a firearm on campus. Is that correct?
Correct. And it also has the local law enforcement supporting it.
Awesome. So I guess, California is not the most friendly place in the nation to be getting something like this passed. Can you take us through the process by which, you had to get this done?
It all started with Uvalde. And once it's become a realization that all that's happening with all these shootings is it's a publication and then it's politicized, and then nothing is changing. We came up with a proposal to actually keep schools safe. We went through all the legalities to figure out how we could do it. Once we did that and we drafted it up, Scott Valley Unified School District was very excited to read it. And then they directly moved forward. I've had a couple other school districts inquire, and they also now have the proposal.
So something that they were excited for, and something that might even end up spreading to other schools. I guess, can you talk about the demographic in your area? Why is this something that somebody from Los Angeles or the Bay Area, why is it something that they should get excited about? Is this something that is repeatable?
Oh, it's absolutely repeatable, and it's probably the safest method possible that can be enacted. They should be excited about it because they need to understand, law enforcement times. Our local Etna police came and spoke on behalf of this proposal to, inform the board and the people that were there that a 5 to 7 minute arrival time is devastating to the amount of people that can be hurt, when there's no protection at the school.
Yeah, okay, so I guess that takes honesty, really. And I think if we end up being honest with each other, we can realize that being able to train and defend ourselves ends up being the best solution to, to some of these problems that we have. Well, hey, Jess, I really appreciate you coming on. Keep doing the good work that you're doing up there. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you all. If you didn't notice, our channel is growing a little bit, but you can always continue and help out by pressing that like button, that share button, or hitting the notification bell. It really helps with the algorithms, and it helps us to get this information out to as many people as possible.